Hello students, I am VLN Swarupni, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss class for second BSc third semester students and biochemistry paper for this semester is enzymology and bioenergetics. Till now we discussed first unit, second unit and also third unit. Now let's move on to the fourth unit, that is bioenergetics. Okay, and in this fourth unit we have topics related to bioenergetics, so let's see about them. And our first topic is free energy and concept of free energy. Okay, free energy and concept of free energy. So firstly, let's see what is energy. Okay, to know free energy, first we should know about energy. No, so that's why let's see what is energy and see the definition of energy. Energy is defined as the capacity to do work to bring about a change. When a reaction occurs, energy is given out or taken in. Okay, so this means it is the energy is nothing but the capacity to do work. Okay, and what it will help us, this capacity to do work will lead us to bring a change in that particular reaction or in any form. Okay, it will bring a change by utilizing that energy. And what will be that change? Coming to the enzymology or any reaction, the change regarding this particular uh, energy, it will bring a change from one state to another state. That means whenever a component, okay, or an enzyme or a substrate, whatever it might be, is utilizing an energy, then what it will do? By utilizing that energy, that this energy will bring a change in that component, and that change will be from one state to another state, like from inactive state to transition state, or from transition state to higher level state. In that form it will bring change. And during this change, what will happen? And energy during the reaction, by utilizing this energy, after reaction process, what will happen? Energy will be given out of the system. That means if a reaction is taking place in a biological system, and if we take hexokinase enzyme, it requires ATP. Okay, it requires ATP for its activity, and it utilizes ATP as an energy source. And by this, what will happen? Glucose will be changed to other form, that is glucose 6 phosphate. And during this process, what happened? Energy is utilized. Okay, energy is taken in, ATP is taken in. Okay, and in the same way, in few reactions, energy will be given out, okay, out of the biological system. So anything may happen. Okay, energy may be taken in or energy may be given out. Okay, and this the capacity to do a work is called as energy. And due to this energy, what will happen? There will be a change, and ultimately there will be observed as energy release or energy intake. Okay, and the energy released by a reaction and free to do work is called the free energy. Okay, so any energy which is released from the reaction and it is free to do any work, that particular energy is called as free energy. And this free energy is represented with capital G. Okay, it is represented with capital G. Okay, and it is the energy available to do useful work. Okay, G is nothing but the energy available to do useful work. So here, what is the difference between energy and free energy? Energy is the any energy which is necessary, which is essential to do a work. Okay, it is a capacity to do any work. Okay, and here by this what will happen, energy will be released, and if that particular energy is free to do work, released energy, if it is ready to do work, it is called as free energy, and it is denoted with G. And example, see example, pumping of ions across a concentration gradient form bonds between different atoms. Okay, so pumping ions means you can take NaCl as example, Na and K plus as example, Na plus and K plus ions. These are the transport channel ions which will move uh, in our body systems through our membranes. Okay, through the membrane based on the concentration gradient. Okay, and these pumping ions, these will move regarding along based on this concentration gradient, and they form different bonds between different atoms. That means while passing through the membrane based on this concentration gradient, this will also pull other components along with this uh, pumping ions. Okay, and these components or these ions will form different bonds with these atoms, so that these can also pull these atoms into the concentration gradient. Okay, the sign and value of this free energy G can be used to predict the direction of the reaction. Okay, so we can also denote a sign and represent the direction of the reaction. So now let's see about the concept of free energy. Concept of free energy. Here the energy actually available to do work is the free energy, and changes in free energy is denoted with delta D. Okay, changes in free energy will be denoted with delta G and are valuable in predicting the feasibility of chemical reactions. Okay, that means if we calculate the free energy and later if we see the change in free energy, and the difference will allow us to know about the chemical reaction, how much that particular reaction utilized the energy. This sort of things can be identified by observing this change in free energy. And the reactions can occur spontaneously if they are accompanied by decrease in the free energy during a chemical reaction, and heat may be released or absorbed. Okay, so the reactions can be spontaneously occurred by this free energy. Okay, and this is followed by decrease in the free energy. Okay, the free energy which is released from the reaction is now ready to do any work, and it is very spontaneous. That's why reaction will occur spontaneously, and what will happen, obviously by the spontaneous reaction energy will be used, and as energy is used from the free energy, there will be decrease in the free energy during that particular chemical reaction. And after the chemical reaction, what will happen? heat will be released or absorbed. Okay, and the term standard free energy is represented by delta G naught. Okay, so free energy is denoted with G, change in free energy is denoted with delta G, and the standard free energy is represented with delta G naught. Okay, it indicates the free energy change when the reactants or products are at a concentration of 1 mole per 1 liter at pH 7. Okay, so what is the standard free energy? See the definition. This will indicate the free energy change. Okay, it is nothing but, as delta G is free energy, it shows that it will indicate the free energy change, and this free energy change is related either with the reactant or with the product. That means it will with reference to reactant or with reference to product, this free energy change will be indicated. And how this will be indicated? Based on the concentration of 1 mole per 1 liter at pH 7. Okay, based on this, this free energy will be can be easily understand, and free energy state will help us to know more about the free energy change in relation with reactant or with product, and how this can be identified based on this concentration of 1 mole per 1 liter at pH 7. Okay, and the free energy change, that is delta G, is represented by a negative sign. That means if it is a minus delta G, that is indicated with negative sign, there is a loss of free energy. There is a loss of free energy. That means after the spontaneous reaction, if the energy is utilized, we can represent that reaction with minus delta G. Okay, and the reaction is said to be exergonic. Exergonic means energy is being utilized, that's why it is exergonic, and we represent this with minus sign. Okay, and if free energy change, that is delta G, is represented by a positive sign, and the energy must be supplied to reactants, and the reaction is said to be endergonic. Okay, if the free energy, that is delta G, is represented with a positive sign, that means plus delta G. If we represent a reaction with positive plus delta G, it means it supplies energy must be supplied to the reactant. That means we should add some more energy to the reactants, and we call it as endergonic. Okay, and the free energy becomes 0. That means delta G will be 0 when a reaction is at equilibrium. That means the energy released and the energy liberated is, if everything is at equilibrium, then free energy will be 0. Okay, delta G will be denoted with 0. And at constant temperature and pressure, delta G is dependent on actual concentration of reactants and products. Okay, at constant temperature and pressure, that means if there should not be any fluctuations in the temperature and pressure, and at that particular constant temperature and pressure, delta G is dependent on actual concentration of reactants and products. That means whenever a reaction happens, all the conditions, temperature, pressure or pH, everything should be constant and optimum levels for that particular reaction. Okay, so at that condition, what will happen? Reaction will be perfectly done. Okay, or if this temperature or the other factors are not constant, what will happen? There will be no proper reaction. Okay, and if this temperature and pressure is constant, okay, obviously this reaction will be perfectly done, and free energy will be dependent on the concentration of reactants and products. So by calculating the concentration of reactants and products, we can calculate the amount of free energy at constant temperature and pressure. Okay, and for the conversion of reactant A to product B, we indicate A arrow B. That means energy is traveled from A to B. It indicates that. Okay, and if you see the mathematical equation or the mathematical reaction, delta G is equal to delta G naught plus RT sigma n, sorry, psi n B by A. Here delta G is a free energy and delta G naught is the what? Delta G naught is the standard free energy change, and here R is the gas constant. Okay, R is the gas constant, and it is 1.987 calories per mole. It represents 1.987 calories per mole, and here this sigma n, it will represent natural logarithm, and here B is the concentration of product and A is the concentration of reactants. If you see the equation, free energy can be calculated by standard free energy at gas constant and constant temperature. T is nothing but temperature, and by also calculating the concentration of product and the reactant. Okay, based on this particular mathematical equation, we can easily identify the free energy. So this is all about what is free energy and concept of free energy. And the next one is enthalpy. So in this bioenergetics, we'll discuss about this enthalpy, entropy. So let's see about them. Firstly, about enthalpy. Enthalpy is derived from a Greek word enthalpin, which means to warm or heat content. Okay, so this is a Greek word enthalpin, from which this enthalpy word was derived, and in Greek enthalpin means warm or heat. Okay, and it is denoted with delta H. As free energy is denoted with delta G, this enthalpy is denoted with delta H. So let's see what is enthalpy. This enthalpy delta H is represented by a negative sign when there is a heat evolved during the reaction. Then the reaction is said to be exothermic reaction. So here enthalpy is denoted with negative sign if the reaction releases heat. Okay, after the completion of the reaction, if heat is evolved or heat is released, this reaction is an exothermic reaction, and it is denoted with negative sign, and opposite to this is positive enthalpy. Okay, in enthalpy delta H is represented as a positive sign. There when heat absorbed from surroundings, and the reaction is said to be endothermic reaction. So what is here? If the reaction is utilizing heat from the outer environment, that means it is absorbing heat from the surroundings and it is utilizing the heat present in the surroundings for the reaction, then that particular enthalpy related to that particular reaction is denoted with positive sign, and we call that reaction as endothermic reaction. Endothermic reaction. And the unit measurement for enthalpy is SI unit, and that unit is joule. Okay, so for unit measurements or units of enthalpy in SI system is joule. Okay, and enthalpy of ideal gases and incompressible solids and liquids does not depend on pressure. Okay, so coming to different components like ideal gases, incompressible solids and liquids, these doesn't depend on pressure for enthalpy, and the enthalpy of homogeneous system is defined as delta H is equal to U plus PV. Okay, for homogeneous, that means homogeneous system means all the cells or all the components in that particular system are similar to each other. Okay, all the cells or all the components or all the chemicals are one kind of cells are only present, that is called as homogeneous system. And for that particular type of homogeneous system, enthalpy is denoted as delta H is equal to U plus PV. Okay, here delta H is obviously enthalpy and U denotes internal energy of the system. So internal energy is denoted with U, and P is the pressure of the system. P is the pressure of the system, and V is the volume of the system. So V is the volume of the system. Here enthalpy is equal to internal energy of system plus pressure of the system into volume of the system. So this is how we can calculate enthalpy of homogeneous system. Okay, and the relation between the change of free energy, okay, relation between the change of free energy delta G, enthalpy delta H, and entropy delta S can be denoted as delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Okay, so here T is a absolute temperature in kelvins, and Kelvin means here temperature is 273 plus degrees centigrade. Okay, so here the relationship between change of free energy, enthalpy and entropy can be easily identified utilizing a absolute temperature constant, and the reaction is delta G is equal to delta H minus absolute temperature and entropy. Okay, so this is about enthalpy. Okay, so now let's see about the next topic, that is entropy. Okay, entropy. And let's see this entropy. Entropy represents a change in the randomness or disorders of reactants and products. Okay, so it is nothing but the change in the randomness of the reactants and products. Okay, entropy attains a maximum as the reaction approaches equilibrium. That means entropy level will be very maximum. That means it will be at its high point whenever this reaction is at equilibrium. Okay, if a reaction is at equilibrium, then obviously this particular entropy will be also high. Okay, and the reactions of biological system involves a temporary decrease in entropy. Okay, so here all the reactions of biological system, they involve temporary decrease in entropy. Okay, why? Because they undergo transition state, and this entropy will be maximum at the equilibrium only, but transition state is a high energy state and where this entropy will be low. Okay, so then it will decrease, and the greater the disorder in an isolated system, the higher is the entropy. Whenever the disorder will be, order of that particular system will be greater, then energy, this entropy will also be high. And decrease of regulatory in structure would mean increase in entropy. Okay, a decrease in the regulation of the structure of the particular component will be lead to increase in the entropy. Okay, entropy change is inversely proportional to the temperature. That means it is not, if temperature increases, it will lead to decrease in the entropy. That means these two factors are opposite to each other. Okay, that means if entropy increases, temperature will decrease. If temperature increases, entropy will decrease. Okay, as entropy is denoted with delta S, if you see the reaction, delta S inversely proportional to 1 by T. Okay, which means increase in temperature results in the decrease of entropy, as the same point. Okay, and total entropy change delta S total for the system and surroundings of a spontaneous process is given by delta S total. That means it is the total entropy change in that particular reaction. It can be calculated like this: delta S total is equal to delta S system plus delta S surrounding. So how much of the energy or entropy is present in the system and also in the surroundings is calculated less than 0. Okay, so this is the what we call total entropy change, and the gaseous state is a state of highest entropy. Okay, in solid and liquid state this entropy is less when compared to the gaseous state. Okay, so this is about entropy. And the next one, let's see, that is energy transformation in living system. Okay, let's see about energy transformation in living system. The biochemical reactions are associated with the liberation of energy as the reacting system moves from a higher to a lower energy level. Okay, so in biochemical reactions, these biochemical reactions, these are associated, these are related to the liberation of energy as a reacting system. Okay, and these will move from higher to lower energy level. Okay, in the reacting system, these biochemical reactions, these are related to the energy liberation, and this will move from higher to lower energy level. Generally, the energy is liberated in the form of heat. Okay, so energy liberation or heat liberation is the same, as both are energy is released in the form of heat. That's why energy release or heat release is nothing but the same one. Since the biochemical reactions are isothermic, the heat energy that cannot be used to drive the vital process that require energy. So this energy which is liberated in the form of heat, and this biochemical reactions are isothermic. Okay, and the heat energy cannot be used to drive the vital process that require energy. That means energy is essential but not heat. The heat energy cannot be used to drive the vital process of the required energy. Okay, so ultimately energy is the only essential component for the reaction and not the heat. But heat is a form of energy which is released after the reaction. Okay, and hence biological process obtain energy by chemical coupling or linkaging to oxidative reactions. Okay, so these biological processes, that means biological processes nothing but biological reactions, they obtain energy by chemical coupling. That means they acquire energy by chemical coupling or chemical bond linkages. Okay, and to form oxidative reactions. Energy is essential for maintenance of life. The maintenance of body temperature, the mechanical work of muscle, the generation of electrical impulse in nerve and brain, active transport, all required energy. Actively participate this transported form of energy. That means energy is very essential for the maintenance and survival of life. Okay, and how this energy will play an important role in our body means it is helpful to maintain the optimum body temperature. Okay, our body also require certain amount of energy to maintain our internal reactions and all the other metabolic pathways and everything, and even our body temperature is also helpful to maintain or to avoid certain kind of infections also. So our body requires certain amount of energy, that energy is released, uh, that energy is given, that temperature is released from the energy. So energy which is present in our body, which is utilized for different kinds of chemical biological reactions, this will few of the biochemical reactions will release energy in the form of heat, and this heat essential for the maintenance of body temperature. Okay, and also muscles, movement of muscles. Okay, muscles movement also require some energy. Okay, so movement of muscle or movement in the actin and myosin filaments. Okay, in our body every muscle will contain actin and myosin filaments, and movement of these fragments or filaments will lead to muscle movement, and this also require certain amount of energy. Okay, and the excuse me, brain and nerve. Okay, nervous system and our brain are interlinked to each other. This nervous system will contain many kinds of nerves, and these will helpful in the transportation of electric impulses from different parts of our body to the brain. Okay, so these will receive all the impulses and will transport to the brain, and it will receive impulses from brain to the other parts of the body. So for this process also, and for the generation of these impulses also, energy is required. And also all this excuse me, this for active transportation of all components in our body also energy is required. So this is the major importance of energy and heat in our body. Okay, in the living system the energy is stored in the form of energy rich or high energy compounds. Okay, so energy rich components or high energy components, these are specialized compounds for storage of this energy. Okay, so high energy compounds will store this energy, and which are mainly phosphate esters like ATP, adenosine monophosphate, ADP, adenosine diphosphate. So these are all the phosphate esters. So these will store energy in them. Okay, and these are called as energy rich components or high energy components. whenever the energy is required by metabolic process, whenever the energy is required by metabolic process, these high energy is utilized, these high energy compounds will be utilized. So whenever, so our best example, that is glucose conversion to glucose 6 phosphate. In this reaction also ATP is utilized as energy source. So in the same manner, different kinds of high energy compounds are utilized whenever our body or metabolic pathways or anything require energy. These high energy components will be utilized. Okay. In the if you see, energy in living system can be measured and converted. If you see the following tabular form, you can understand. We can calculate energy in with the different units like ergs, which is denoted with ERG, and joules, and also calories. Okay, energy related to heat is also calculated in calories, and electron volt, so, and quantum, so kilocalorie per Einstein. These are different kinds of units we uh, use to measure this energy. Okay, so let's see these different types of units, how what are they, how they are used once. Okay, ergs, we can define it as work performed by a force of one dyne moving its point of application for 1 centimeter. Here, dyne means force required to produce an acceleration of 1 cc per second in 1 gram. Okay, so uh, dyne is nothing but a force required to produce an acceleration. So, work performed by force of one dyne, that means force of one acceleration moving its point of application for 1 centimeter. So, per application of this particular acceleration on 1 centimeter, the work performed is calculated as erg. Okay, and if we convert ergs into joules, 1 erg is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7 joules. Okay, now let's see about joule. Joule is nothing but the energy developed when one column of electrons, that is 10.364 into 10 to the power of minus 6 moles pass through a potential of 1 volt. Okay, potential of 1 volt. So this is the energy developed when electrons pass through a 1 volt potential. And here joule is, if we convert this joule into ergs, 1 joule is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7 ergs, and 1 joule is equal to 0.2390 calories. Okay, and the next one is calorie. It is the energy required to warm 1 gram of water from 15 degrees centigrade to 16 degrees centigrade. Okay, so it is energy required to warm, sorry, here 1 gram of any component from 15 degrees centigrade to 16 degrees centigrade. And this, if we convert this calories into joules, 4.1840 joules. 1 calorie is equal to 4.1840 joules. And the next one is electron volt. Electron volt, energy gained by an electron passing through a potential of 1 volt. It is a energy gained. Okay, energy produced by an electron passage. Okay, if an electron pass through 1 volt potential, and then if energy is gained, that is calculated as electron volt. And if this is converted into ergs, 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into the 10 to the power of minus 2 ergs. And if this electron volt is converted into joules, it is 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. And if this electron volt is converted into calories, 1 electron volt is equal to 23.06 kilocalories per mole. Okay, and the last one is quantum. Next one is quantum. Energy of an electromagnetic quantum calculated from its wavelength expressed in millimicrons. Okay, or energy of an electromagnetic quantum calculated from wave number per centimeter. Okay, and this quantum, if converted into electron volts, one quantum is equal to 1239.8 mu to the power of minus 1 electron volts. Okay, and the last one is kilocalories per Einstein. Energy of a mole of photon, that means 1 Einstein of wavelength in micro is to kilocalories per mole. Okay, here if we convert this into calories, 1 kilo if we this is equal to 589.7 millimicrons. Okay, so this is about energy transformation, how our energy is transformed and what is the use of the energy in our body. Okay, in this class we have discussed a few topics. What are they? Free energy concept, okay, enthalpy, entropy, and transformation of energy in living system. So please keep the material provided for you with you, and also listen to this class. If you have any doubts, please contact me. Thank you, students.